Miguel, with your permission then, we'll go straight to the panel.
Absolutely.
And
that's a great idea.
I'm sure then people will find their courage to ask you the questions they secretly wanted to.
Yeah, I hope.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Miguel Ferrer speaking there, and he is now going to be hosting a panel entitled Enabling Innovation in the Data Center to Unlock Efficiency. He is going to be joined by Sanjeev Kumar from Ad Hunik. Sanjeev, please do come up as and when you hear your name. Ravinder Vaswan from Informatica. Moher Tiwari from Glenmark. Nihar Pathari from the Financial Technologies. S. Schroeder from Dell, and Jacob Pereira from Dell. Gentlemen, would you give a big hand to our panelists?
Come on. So here's the thing. When we have been talking all day and yesterday about all the wealth of technology and products and techniques we can use to enhance our technical environments. And this is something that, you know, I happen to be an engineer, but this is always very mysterious to me, so I hope you guys will help me. So I've been looking, I'm doing some research, and if the data center is the topic of today, I found this data center infrastructure management maturity model, where, you know, when you go from keeping the lights on until the data center that manages by itself. And I think we have talked about many of those things. I'm sure my data center doesn't manage by itself. I can tell you for sure. So my first question is, how can really we move from a conventional data center and let's say convergence structure into a more, I don't want to say innovative, but into a more flexible and less heavy structure and the trending, because this is for me what where the power lies. So maybe we start from let's this first question everyone answer, and then we go as it goes. Huh?
Yeah.
So from in there.
You know, how to move from conventional to the cutting edge, right?
Yes.
See, actually, you know, if we have to come back to the ground reality in business, what we do every year, there is a cycle of business planning, business growth. We plan for organic growth, whether we are in product selling or service selling. And accordingly, that is percolated down to IT planning. And there we try to see that how many components we are going to add to enhance capability, and how many components we are going to retire. And there is always a pressure, why to retire? Why not use? You know? And CIO colleagues, fellows, they struggle to prove these are the components we have to retire. So at any point in time, if we take cross-section of time, we find, you know, the older generation and the newer generation technology sitting together.
So in your company, basically what you do is you look at the life cycle and trying to make it in a way that you can manage in certain level.
In fact, you know, whatever life cycle you select, at any point in time, you have mix of a newer generation, what we have been talking about, and older version of technology. So what exactly is the requirement? The requirement, and then if you talk about a data center, you have, many servers, then switches, and then other devices, and all have a different management tools, you know, to monitor.
How do you think? What do you think about this management tools?
I just want to add one line.
Sorry.
So then what happens? So you try to add, and you struggle with management tool how to get better performance out of it. So we need to address, suppose, you know, if we have very fantastic open source which is going to augment newer and older together without much of licensing hassle, you know, that exactly is going to give answer to the ongoing computing requirement of a company.
But, how do you do this? Because it's one data centers and many ones. How do you handle this in your company?
So I think, first of all, since morning I have been hearing, and it's a wonderful connectivity between how you can actually automate your systems and processes and virtualization. Wonderful discussion since morning, and in fact, good presentations. And I would say the best alignment from your side were how to align IT with the business, right? So I would say in our organization, so I can keep talking about this a lot, but just to give a brief. First, most important part is that, yes, definitely we need to keep the lights on. There is no choice, right? And that is not at all discussed at a business level. Nobody cares how you keep the lights on, but that doesn't mean that's not important or that's easy. It's not easy, and it is very well important. But it's all about how the expectations are set, what are your parameters for tracking your performance, how you actually see the results, and how you actually measure your performance. And if you talk about when you're measuring your performance based on the alignment, how you solve the problems for the business, how you actually enable business to be more dynamic for their customers. So if I talk about, like, we are a software development company, and we have requests sometimes where we need to give systems within the next few hours. And if we don't opt for virtualization, if we don't opt for latest technology, if we don't make sure that the core architecture of the data center infrastructure, which can be a network, which can be a server, high performance computing, storage, if that is not very well aligned and properly planned and designed, it will be difficult to actually cater the need based on the short dynamic requirements from the business. So I would say it's all about virtualization, automation, best architecture you should have. When I say best architecture, it doesn't mean it has to be expensive. It has to be modular, which is scalable, and it can be, you know, based on the new technologies available. We don't invent technologies. We have to actually rely on partners like Dell, HP, or anybody else. It's all about what they give us and how best we can use that.
Then now, I guess we are all more or less in the same boat, correct? Right. So the question is, I don't know, maybe, can you explain, how do you actually do it? Because when practically, there is a question here is the architecture, the SOA, the way the things are connected and so on. And now, you know, you have to go and do something in your data centers, how it moves.
A very good question. Actually, we just did it. We launched a new data center last month, which is 5,000 square feet of the latest technology data center. We, financial technology also has a group which consults in data centers. So we have seen a lot of customers having the old types of data centers. And we have learned over the years on what should be done better. There are, of course, case studies and white papers on the net which can be referred. But most of the efficiencies on the old data center is the moment you change from old data center to a new data center, the cost saving directly hits at 35 to 40% is a guarantee that we could give. And
so what is the advice you give to the guys here how to do it themselves? Let's say if I want to do this.
There are a lot of things in a data center, right from the ceiling to the cooling. We have now in-row cooling that actually cools a data center. When the market starts, we have exchanges like MCX. When the market starts, the huge rush on servers, the power goes up. That's when the cooling is required. And in-row based cooling kicks up there. Rest of the DC where cooling is not required, the cooling goes down there. You need chiller based systems, you need variable pumps which also define the water flow. The old data centers, even if they are chiller based, they do not drive or vary the speed of the pump. There's everything, right from the false ceiling to the false flooring. Everything that you can touch upon is can be now in the new data center be more efficient. And to sum it, we strongly believe that you cannot plan or you cannot attack efficiency point if you cannot monitor or see it. So you need the latest softwares which actually monitor right from your PDU to see power losses where they are happening, right from the transformers to your PDU, in the line, everything can now be monitored, and with that you can actually come to a derivation where you can see where efficiency can be pulled in.
You see, one thing, you see in our experience, and I say Sridhar and Jacob, I don't know which one will take this because I think it will be interesting. We are struggling more or less with the same type of topics, and I think we're in different industries, and still I feel the discourse is the same. In your experience, because you have to also talk with your customers, how is actually we should do this to attack this? I mean, because of course you have a methodology, you go piece by piece, you do this, you go more like okay, you try to understand and get the advice from vendors. You try to really optimize the way you manage what you have existing. So there are many ways to manage solve the same issue. So how do you feel, in your experience, will be the right approach? And then, please don't tell me you just come and buy my Dell something. What I'm saying is, and of course probably you have a solution for this, but my point is, I'm a customer. Where should I start?
So if I look at it, actually there are probably 4 or 5 building blocks in the way you approach.
Okay.
The first one is with increasing requirements, with ongoing augmentation of the infrastructure, whether it is in the technologies of the infrastructure, heterogeneity is here to stay. So first of all, we look at how do we consolidate, or how do we get the best operative mechanism from the infrastructure that you have, or you keep adding, as Sanjeev pointed out. So the first stage comes when you decide how do you consolidate, or what do you want to get out of it. The second stage then comes, if you get to consolidating, what would you do? So how would you virtualize? But that's where virtualization really comes into picture, because that's a vehicle for us to accomplish that objective. And it is not one vector. You look at server virtualization, which is talked about a lot, but then you get to server, storage, network. How do you virtualize your infrastructure and provide for better utilization? How do you build that scalability in that particular infrastructure? So that's stage 2. And then the stage 3 comes when you actually look at, you got a monster now. How do you manage it? And as you begin to use different infrastructures, inadvertently we build multiple silos in the infrastructure. And then how do you get the silos to talk to each other? You've got multiple management tools, and there is one person who actually is looking at the multiple tools and trying to get the tools to talk to each other. And then you got to invent a 4th tool which will be able to put all these together. So that's when the concept of management comes into the picture. So that's probably the next stage. And then comes the 4th stage, where you think, how do you provide IT as a service? How do you provision for this? How do you create a sort of a self-service portal where as they define, for a dynamic infrastructure requirement, or suddenly it's a software application company, you're looking at doing a testing. You're looking at doing a sort of a application, a short-term requirement. Then how do you provide for an infrastructure? So either you could do all by yourself, have the people, keep adding more and more people till the infrastructure is there, and then dismantle it and provide for something else, or you provide it in a sort of a self-service format where the user is able to pick and choose and put the infrastructure to use. There comes the 4th stage. How do you build the flexibility in the infrastructure? And as you keep doing all this, when you add or disturb an infrastructure, you bear in mind you have disturbed the power cooling equilibrium. And then at every point of time, you look at how do you provide for that. So these, I would believe, are 5 building blocks in taking the solution.
You know, Jacob, I've been talking recently with people from different vendors of data center management, but not the servers, but actual data center itself. And they have some kind of methodology and so on. What have you seen when working? Because obviously today I was very impressed. You really know how to manage these type of topics. So what methodology? Is something kind of a formal thing? Because you were talking about finding stuff on internet and maybe consulting around. So it's like, you know, there is a formal way to do this that you can see?
So there's a couple of factors. Whenever you move from, say, a traditional data center to a dynamic data center, so where it's self-healing and all that, you go through a stage of taking it from traditional, hybrid, and then to dynamic. But one big key force right now, it's not the CIO's priorities or it's not the CEO's priorities, but the workforce is now defining the way how IT gets used. So for example, if it comes to a stage where your IT department's not serving them and they're going around and buying external solutions like SaaS solutions, things like that, and that's going to put a lot of pressure for your ITs to reduce further budget. So it's better you innovate much quicker than let your workforce, you know, kind of lead the way for you. So we've seen, like in Dell, we used to use SharePoint and all that stuff, and the moment we started using Salesforce.com, collaborations just increased enormously. And I can reach anywhere in Latin America to a person in China in terms of similar tweets like this, in terms of what's the new product strategy, what are our data center. I mean, the amount of information that the workforce has and they're embracing will define how your data center evolves.
So this is very interesting, because now you're talking about the people that will actually run this structure, and the people start with ourselves, correct? And let's say if I don't know who here wants to take the question, but if I'm your CEO and tell you guys, look, we need really to innovate our business model, and we have to go in a better way to the market, because our competition is killing us, because somehow they're better. We do all the right, and maybe you have heard of things. We do all the right things, still the competitors are killing us. Why? If we do all the right things. So how this data center, new generation, networking servers are placed into this? Because, you know, I guess, yes, I build machines that open holes, but, you know, at the end, all the data is in servers, is in SAPs, is in all these things, correct? So what is the first step in your case? Maybe you want to start?
So I think I will start with building a context there. So just to give you a little context about it. So there were times where a year back we were shifting our office, and I was asked to see, okay, how bigger is the data center we want to build? Because we had we had 2 data centers actually on 2 different floors in the previous building, and we built the data center where we just moved 2 months back. At that time when I was working on, and we decided that, okay, first we want to see a strategy where we say, okay, first cloud. Whatever we want to give a solution to the customers or our internal customers, we want to see, first we should see a cloud option.
Yes.
So if I share, there were 18 applications in the beginning when we had on the cloud, including Salesforce.com and a couple of other applications which we use. And today we are at 29 applications on the cloud. There were 12 applications in-house which we were providing to collaborate or to do business internally. Today we are only 13, so the growth if you see on the cloud and internally is big difference. There were times where we had only 200 instances running. Today, from a VM instances perspective, I have 1,300 instances running. We have automated all the templates where we can actually move around. Now we are on to the next step where we want to have a portal or management console which can actually take care for a heterogeneous environment for virtualization.
And this you did based on the same building?
That's correct.
Yeah. Is it the same case, or you have many sites as well, many data centers?
You know, I bring in completely a different perspective. When you look at business and business growth, then Adhunik is into steel, mining, and power. Yeah? Steel, mining, and power.
Yeah, take that one, it's a little bit better, yeah.
So what happens, one area is growing very fast and one is static. So what happens, how to ensure the response time or say efficiency of a particular business transaction across the business group. Now in my view, data center and complete management of data center with cloud, virtualization, everything, whatever is there, whether on campus or off campus, has to be outsourced, and chargeback mechanism should be put in with a clear SLA. Because when the business is growing, say 20%, 30%, and by way of merger acquisition, it becomes very difficult to plan for, say, hardware and add one more node, and then manpower and backup, recovery, so forth and so on. Though we have our own power generation, so that is not the question for us. But still, what we feel that right charging should go to each and every business group with the right users, and the management should go to a third party with a defined SLA.
Yeah, of course, but then you have, I feel you want to jump in. So
we did a bit differently. What we did was we didn't outsource all the processes in the data center. What we did was the daily routine processes like monitoring, checking the start of the day activities, checking the chillers, all these were outsourced. But the core data center team still remains, and we have trained them for better, bigger projects, and we now give them time for them to innovate. We give them time so that they think, because these are the guys who have been with us for a long time. They understand our business. They know which servers, what rack, what is critical, and these guys monitor the outsourced guys, and we actually give them time to innovate. This is what we feel.
Yeah, one question, I don't know, maybe either of you guys, but if I'm sitting right now looking at this panel and this discussion, and I want to say, okay, look, I need to do something in my data center, it's sucking my money, it's sucking my time and so on, and I will do all this, we'll go and find out these products. But at the end of the day, you have, I think, remaining key question. There is of course, you have the legacy and the new thing. You have the cloud and the thing that is in the ground. So how do you reconcile this? Because then what is the best way? And I don't have the answer, so I hope someone has it here. How do you reconcile this legacy versus what you really have new? And how you integrate them, because they have to work together anyway. If you have many generations in the same data centers or on the cloud or whatever it is.
It's not only legacy. In fact, you get complete heterogeneous environment. You have variety of make and variety of versions, and then yet you have to make them work together in one seamless environment.
Yeah,
so that's the challenge.
That's the target. I agree. But
I would say that we should start with an assessment of your present infrastructure data center and see where your PUE rating comes to. Do a complete assessment, and you see at what level, what stages the efficiency of the data center can be increased, and then plan out for the investment.
Maybe Jacob, you look like you know about this.
So in terms of where I would usually start is in terms, to his point, assessment, but also look at how much you've spent on software subscription and maintenance. That is the biggest spend that a lot of IT companies are wasting their money on, because they tend to forget, because there's no proper asset management, license management and things like that. And when license change happens, it kind of is a lock-in approach. So we have to now get better involved in the industry and say, hey, I don't want a lock-in strategy. When my data center reaches a certain level, I need to go with a multi-vendor strategy or multi-hypervisor strategy. That way you're keeping your vendors cost competitively, and also you're driving your cost down as well.
I would add a couple of points. One is about assessing where you are, taking stock of what your current position is.
Where you are.
But more important, I would think, is define maybe what's your roadmap for the next maybe a few years to come. And that could get classified into two parts. One is, what is the known infrastructure growth that you're going in for, or a business expansion that you're going in for? And the second would probably be about defining what are the couple of things that I would do differently. For example, an organization may not have enterprise mobility prevalent, may not have mobile devices being capable of used on the corporate infrastructure, or may not have some other facility that you want to provide, or a remote user, for example, may not be there. So you got to define what is the other element of expansion, or an infrastructure facility that I would like to provide in the infrastructure. So that provides you the space to innovate, and that could have a ripple effect on what you already have. Because many a time we can easily get caught up into sustain, do better on what you're doing, but not providing for that additional growth. Mobility can throw open so many other things. Accessibility to information from remote can throw open so many things, because the biggest revolutions happened when you said, okay, I have a PDA, can I actually log in an order from remote? I am an insurance agent, can I take a photograph and log it in immediately? The biggest revolutions happened when you started questioning the status quo. So maybe every year, if a CIO has got a charter stating, this is what I'm going to do to challenge the status quo, and towards being able to do, for example, it could be data management. And one of the CIOs whom I was talking to said, that's the biggest monster I'm going to solve. So what are we going to do?
Does it make any sense to start maybe looking at your process, and from your process, then you try to adapt this, or just optimize whatever you have, whatever the process you have for any possible case? I don't know what.
No, so what happens, the moment you have something on campus, and then try to, protect it, keep close to your heart, then the words come, that you're trying to innovate and then make it better and all. But the moment you open up and approach a problem without any decision or conclusion in mind, then you have so many options in hand to select and internalize. So, so it has to be seen in both ways, actually.
Yeah. You have the mobilization of the people. Your solution is to outsource this type of things. Now, how you relate to that? Because this process, I can feel the difference between the process and the actual.
Yeah, so in fact, if you see your question, right, how we maintain the legacy as well as the heterogeneous environment and manage that well.
Yes.
So the biggest question which every CIO need to ask is, what is that legacy we are talking about? If there is no innovation or no change for 3 to 5 years, that means there is something which is missing, right? So you talk to software development guy and he says, oh, my system works only on a Spark and it cannot work today. Who is using that system? Most of the customers are out of Spark, almost like history. And they are, if they want to Spark, then there's a new revolution which has to come, or probably a new version of Spark. So it's all about, you know, asking the right question and understanding whether that legacy is actually required or not. And if it is required, what is the total cost of ownership? It's a business decision. And when I say business decision, doesn't mean the business people have to take it. It's a CIOs who has to get involved and say, guys, you are talking about, you know, bringing a revenue which is probably a $1 million for whatever legacy you want to maintain, but the cost to actually make sure that we are able to support that is $5 million. So is that we want? Is that the right business model? If not, then definitely that legacy has to go away. From an heterogeneous environment perspective, there is no choice. If we don't have heterogeneous environment, then we are killing the competitive advantage we want to get. Then Dell will not be on the way like they are changing their branding from a hardware to solution or any other vendor, right? If you talk about conversions of infrastructure or any of their components, they will not think about it. Why they are you know, focusing towards that concept or branding is because they want to give us a solution. And there is the competitive advantage which every customer got. So I think heterogeneous environment is very important to get the competitive advantage.
Look, what I would like to do now, because I think we are in a point where I think we more or less are on the same page now, correct? There is a question, and I actually want to throw the question down to the public here, is about how to move this into this IT, let's say, ecosystem. You have data centers, you have networks, you have your applications, you have your users, you have the mobility. When you're managing these complex environments, okay, how you guys actually, maybe you have questions to the panel, but I think we need to understand how bring this agility in something that is actually kind of somehow rigid, because, you know, you cannot buy a server every 2 days, even if it's very cheap, I will say. So it's more the cost of the operation than the actual material. So I would like maybe go through the public and see if we can a little bit interact on the fact that it's very difficult to do this, and what are the approaches maybe you have and you can teach us something, or maybe we can give some examples of our life. So it's a good moment to do this. Very good, very good. I think apparently we are on time. So anyone wants to start, or shall I throw a stone? I don't throw to this table. They will try to send me 4 stand. I will throw to this table. You're the closest ones. Hey!
Yeah, he's gone there.
Yeah, there. That table. Anyone? Anyone? Yes. So how do you do to manage this change into your own infrastructure in your companies? That's the question.
I can give one example.
Yeah.
To trigger this. As we spoke about tiering of data and then how to make it more usable with ease in terms of retrieval, access and all. What we did, business critical application and then collaboration suite. What we did, we moved complete collaboration suite like your live meeting, communicator, then mailing, SharePoint on Microsoft Cloud. And then this complete thing is hosted there, and then we are using the cloud model, pay-per use, and then it has really given us complete agility in terms of expansion and all. Just one example.
On there.
Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, fine. So the point you said that one gentleman said, legacy system should be discarded. I think legacy system cannot be discarded. It is very difficult. Rather, we should find out a solution which merges the legacy system's output into the new system's output. And already there are so many tools, so many applications already developed for that particular areas. So if you say that we have to discard the legacy system, the American company who are still using the main system cannot work. And MF COBOL they are still using. You cannot say this thing. Second point.
So I didn't say that it has to be discarded. What I mean is it need to be upgraded. If something is not changing in 3 to 5 years, that means not upgrading. That means there is something which is missing.
Just let's try to understand if it can be transferred, then it could have been transferred much earlier. People is not using this, still not discarding this MF COBOL and all this thing, DB2, because of the reason they cannot transfer it. It's a huge job, huge.
No, I agree.
You cannot do, this is not a way. Rather, you should think about the architecture, what he is talking about, merging the old scenario and the new scenario. Yes, solution is there. Who says solution is not there?
No, very well said, and that's the point I was making, which is a business decision. I'm not saying that, you know, this is the way everybody has to go, because there is no right or wrong answer. Every organization has their different perspective. There is no one size which fits all. It's all about hybrid decisions and, you know, things what we have to opt for. So I understand what you mean, and I'm with you on that.
I would just like to add that things were working before the legacy system came in, and then the system came in, right? And it improved the original working. So there has to be a new way to do it. Just imagine the legacy system was not there and the things were still working. Then a system came in, and it's time to upgrade that system or get it better. And
that what he was asking about is transferring the current data center to a new data center. The first thing what I think I should understand, what is my business need? What I am going to do? If I invest something for changing from new data center to a old data center to a new center, what is the gain I am going to expect? What is the gain I am expecting from? And how this particular investment will help me to get into the business? What is my ROI? So this is the point. Before we go on, we have to think it. Second point, if we think about the infrastructure, if I discuss for the timing about the servers, we can upgrade my network. Doesn't matter.
Yes.
Only point is that I have to see what is the bandwidth we are talking about. If it is if I want to jump from 100 Mbps, 10 by 100 Mbps to 1 Gbps, does my server is accepted to these things, existing servers? If not, how to upgrade these things without discarding that particular server? Because our intention is not to change everything over.
Absolutely.
So the point is that yes, CURD is there. I can change from 100 to 1 GB, 1 GB to 10 GB. CURD is available now, and it is matching with the servers. Why should I change my servers? So we have to think the optimal, find out the optimal solution for transferring from the old data center to a new data center.
Or to the cloud, or
whether, yeah.
whatever.
So I have a question to you back.
Yeah, please.
So if you have a server which is like maybe dual core and 3 years old, and which is like maybe 8 GB RAM, and today if you have to give the AMC for that, it costs you something like, let's say, $1,000 for another 2 years. I'm just giving an example. That doesn't mean somebody will charge you $1,000. But if it is older than 3 years, and if it is a critical system, business critical system, you need to take AMC for sure, right? So,
so what colleague Dandre is saying is that depending also on the type of legacy you have and how you can move, because what you have is what you have, then you have to understand if it fits. And I understand in the software development area it's very challenging, and this is a point. Excuse me, one question. Maybe what can you advise us? Because we are here in an impasse. I think in a company, I can tell you, we have some needs to move. In some others, we need to wait because we can. That's what we have. So what do? Sometimes we are prisoners of our own success, I guess.
So when you address the legacy issue, you have to look at in terms of the inflection point when the legacy reduces the productivity or inhibits you to grow. That's the only time when you look at moving your legacy systems away. And this would be stopping you from developing online systems and things like that. But the timing of when you move is also critical, because that depends on how competitive your industry is going to be at that specific time. Now, a lot of companies may say, okay, I've got the global financial crisis now, I've got some money to spend, maybe this is a good time to do it, so when the economy starts going up, I'll be at the forefront of it, okay? So it really depends on not reaching to that inflection point where you have to change the architecture and it's going to impact your business, but also pick the right timing.
Yeah. Well, one thing, I think we have time for one more question. I think we have here, here, we have the mic.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Suri, I'm from Safi Technologies. This is not a question, this is actually a response to the question that you had from the panel, right?
Correct.
I think it goes back to where you actually started off from in the beginning, which is that what is it that business requires today? To my mind, there are two areas that we need to look into in terms of a refresh or an innovation part of it, of the data center. Part A is in terms of the physical infrastructure. So what are the economics of the infrastructure that I have today? And do I have technology which is available today, which I'm able to run more efficiently, more effectively, more economically? And if the answer to that is yes, then I definitely need to look at what's the latest that is available to me from the economics point of view. Ultimately, infrastructure is the means to an end, which is where you come back to business. And because there is so much innovation happening in the outside environment every day, I need to be in tune with what are the current changes that have taken place in the application space. How do those applications impact on my business and the ability of the people in business to do better or more, or be more competitive, or be more up to date, etc. So this is where all the collaboration tools, etc. come in. So if the changes in those applications and how those applications are delivered brings forth a decision point, then I need to look at that and see where is my business today? Is there value in that application space or the way those applications are getting delivered, whether it be on the cloud or in any other manner whatsoever, and then take a call on that and say, yes, this is where the value is going to come from. And I think this is a question that you would need to be looking at every 2-3 years because changes are happening all the time.
That I think,
I'll add another point to this. So the thing is, like you rightly pointed out, going back to your question around legacy will have to exist. I think many a time we are caught in this challenge of not being able to provide for adequate resources to be able to go and move the legacy environment to the new environment, which really is the challenge. It's not about whether you love the legacy or you want to retain it. It's about, do you have the resources to be able to go and transfer them? I'll take a very Indian crude example. You can still drive an Ambassador Mark II, but you have a 6-lane highway, and you can reach from one destination to another in a matter of maybe 6 hours. Can an Ambassador Mark II take you there? If not, somebody else is going to reach there. So are you doing the right thing for your business in defending that legacy? So if I were you, how I would look at is, okay, how long can this, what is the useful life of this legacy? And thereafter, when do I transition? To be able to do that, how much do I want to stretch it? And where will I deploy the resources to be able to migrate? I know it's a difficult decision. I have seen a mammoth implementation of State Bank of India which continued to be on 640 KB memory. However much the processor changed, however much the memory technologies changed, they still used branch banking and access with a 640 KB DOS-based application. But they migrated after many, many years. So for them, for an implementation as mammoth as that, what happened was the moment they said I have 2,000 branches and they started the migration, they had moved to 5,000 branches. So the scale got that much bigger when they had to translate from an older to a newer one. The point is not, I mean, we can debate till the cows come home as to how big the task is, or we will continue to defend the legacy. But the fact is we've got to move on. Yeah. To be able to do that, define a point in time. Normally, at least in India, how it works is define a point in time, work backwards and make it happen. So by stretching the legacy beyond a point, beyond its useful life, definitely you would be straining your organization's resources, and that probably may not be the best thing to do.
It looks to me now that to close the panel, that there are many points. I can see in many industries we are in a different speed and need and thirst for change, and I think that will be my first conclusion. Yeah. Then in Venezuela we say there are many ways to kill a cat, to skin a cat. So basically we can do many things. So this is not a decision we can take very lightly, and it's obviously we all in our own way we have put the homework, and so and now that we're here, about to close, I think we have to take opportunity to use the experts on the technology, because I don't believe throwing technology to every problem is the solution, but it helps to clear the understanding. So thank you very much to the panelists. I think I'm very happy you saved my day here. And thank you. Go back to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause, please, for Miguel Ferrer and his panelists.